What if the fastest way to become a billionaire wasn't Silicon Valley? It was a friendship. In modern Hungary, one man's rise to power comes with another story. The story of who got the contracts and why. Viktor Orbán returned to office in 2010 with a landslide, two-thirds control of parliament, a promise to rebuild the nation after crisis. He spoke of sovereignty, of efficiency, of ending corruption. But watch the tenders, watch the names, watch who wins. Look at Felchut, his childhood village, a soccer academy, a gleaming stadium, a tiny railway that drew European headlines, projects justified as investment, projects that required builders. Enter Lawrence Mesaros, a gasfitter turned businessman, an old acquaintance from Felchut. His companies began winning public contracts at a breathtaking pace. Roads, railways, water projects, hotel renovations, often funded with European money. Year after year, awards piled up. Consortium after consortium, familiar partners, familiar outcomes. By the late 2010s, his wealth soared into the billions. He bought media outlets, he bought banks, he bought hotels and factories. Critics called it a miracle of proximity. He said he was just smart and lucky. He wasn't the only one. There was István Garancsi, a businessman with close ties to the ruling party. He secured state projects. He owned a soccer club favored by the prime minister. He built, he acquired, he expanded. And there was a more delicate case. Streetlights, LED upgrades across dozens of towns. The company was Elios, linked to Orbán's son-in-law, István Tiborcs. The EU's anti-fraud office later reported serious irregularities, conflict of interest concerns, coordinated tender specs that favored one bidder. Hungarian prosecutors closed the case. No charges, the money trail faded, the light stayed. Rewind a bit, to the first Orbán era, 1998 to 2002. Enter Lajos Simichka, party treasurer, master fundraiser. His firm, Kozgép, dominated public works. Roads, bridges, pipelines, a power broker behind the scenes. Then came a famous falling out in 2015, a spectacular public rupture. Within months, Kozgép lost eligibility for major tenders. The empire cracked. New players rushed in. The map of favored contractors redrew itself overnight. The pattern kept repeating. A policy arrives, a tender appears, a shortlist forms, a contract lands. Watch the circle. In 2013, tobacco retail licenses were reshuffled nationwide. Tens of thousands went up for grabs. Applicants lined up. Emails leaked. Insiders allegedly discussed who should get them. The winners skewed toward party-connected names, a state-sanctioned monopoly sector, gifted to trusted hands. Ordinary shopkeepers lost out. Next came farmland. State-owned plots moved into private hands. Local elites close to power won auctions and long leases. Critics saw a new land aristocracy in the making. Officials called it modernization, rationalization, efficiency. Universities followed. Public institutions placed into foundations, their boards stacked with loyalists and ministers turned trustees. Assets transferred, budgets secured outside the normal cycle. Critics worried about capture. Supporters spoke of stability. Media was reshaped too. In 2018, hundreds of pro-government outlets merged into one foundation, a single holding gifted by friendly owners. Regulators waved it through as of strategic importance. Pluralism thinned. Coverage synchronized. Advertising spigots favored allies. Follow the mega-projects, and you see the same silhouettes. POX 2, a nuclear plant with Russia's Rosatom, classified details for decades. A Chinese-financed railway from Budapest to Belgrade, a price tag in the billions. Questioned returns, a Hungarian consortium tied to familiar names won big. Transparency advocates sounded alarms. Officials cited national strategy and great power deals. In the meantime, invoices flowed. The numbers told a tale of their own. A high share of tenders with a single bidder. Watchdogs flagged it. Brussels complained. Budapest adjusted thresholds and procedures. The headline rate dipped, but the same clusters kept winning. The same boardrooms kept smiling. Listen to the language at the top. Illiberal democracy, national capitalists, strategic sectors. It was a vision, a state that picks winners, a machine that concentrates power and rewards loyalty. Supporters said it finally built Hungarian champions. They argued that Western firms had long feasted on local markets. Now, homegrown giants would take the lead. Critics called it cronyism, a velvet coup. Agencies captured, courts pressured, public procurement tailored. They pointed to villas on the Croatian coast, to corporate chains looping back to friends, to luxury yachts glimpsed by investigative reporters. Meanwhile, European money gushed in. For a decade, the EU paid for roads, sewage, schools, and fiber optic cables. In many years, most public investment came from Brussels. It was a river of opportunity. Who set the dams? Who drew the canals? The answer kept coming back to the circle. A rotating cast of allies, a pattern of legal tweaks, a habit of emergency rules, national security exemptions, strategic classifications. Time after time, oversight dimmed. Time after time, insiders saw the path. Politics and business fused, not in a smoky back room, in open daylight, in gazettes, in tenders, in smiling ribbon cuttings. If you map the contracts, you see a web. Felchud at one point on the grid, Budapest ministries at another, banks, media houses, construction firms, and agribusiness nodes. Lines pulse with public money. They converge on a handful of names. This isn't just a story about one leader. It's a blueprint for a system. How to centralize power, how to feed allies, how to hold loyalty with profitable certainty. Call it favoritism, call it national strategy. Either way, it changed who becomes rich and who stays waiting at the door. Start where the doors start opening. A small town, a football pitch, a friend who fixes pipes. Then the contracts roll in. Construction, rail, roads, pipes, stadiums. Names on tender sheets repeat. So do the winners. Public records show it clearly. The same companies, again and again. City halls, ministries, state firms. A childhood ally becomes a mogul. His firms lay tracks, dig ditches, raise hotels, buy newspapers, then banks, then factories. He says he works hard. Critics say the state works harder for him. Procurement notices tell a pattern. Minimal competition, tight timelines, custom criteria, and a list of urgent exemptions. When a merger helps the network, it's labeled strategic. Regulators step aside. Review waived. Clock stopped. It isn't subtle, but it is legal, because the laws changed. Watch the media map. Dozens of outlets, then hundreds, folded into one trust. Donated, on paper, coordinated, in practice. Advertising money does the rest. Public campaigns flood friendly pages. Opponents feel the tap run dry. You want reach, you want stability, you print the line, you get the line items. Next, energy. Not just megawatts, but mega deals. A nuclear expansion set with Moscow. Long-term gas with a discount no one can read. Consultants, subcontractors, project managers. Who gets the Hungarian slice? Look at the circle. China arrives with steel and loans, a railway between capitals, costs balloon on paper. The contract goes secret. 40 years of classified terms. Which domestic firms join the build? A familiar portfolio, a familiar friend. Municipalities light their streets. LEDs promise savings. One company wins late and often. It belongs to the family, by marriage. Investigators in Europe raise flags. They label patterns irregular. At home, prosecutors close the file. Projects stand. Citizens squint at dimmer lamps. The circle grows brighter anyway. Then real estate. Glittering hotels, historic buildings, prime plots, sold by the state, financed by state banks, rebuilt by state-favored builders. A son-in-law becomes a tycoon. He leaves the risky firm. He moves into safer ground. Property, tourism, finance, loans flow, permits glide. Boutique after boutique opens. It looks like entrepreneurship. It feels like coordination. Telecoms shift hands. A new champion rises. Old allies split. New ones converge. The cash comes with conditions you never see. Licenses appear like clockwork. Spectrum allocations align. Hospitals need ventilators in a crisis. Masks by the million. Fast-track buying. Friends at the front of the line. Invoices swell. Warehouses fill with machines doctors won't use. Who pays? You know. Ask local businesses how bins feel now. They file paperwork. They call their contacts. They wait and wait. The answer arrives without words. Wrong friends, wrong party, wrong future. Opposition towns watch subsidies shrink. Road repairs stall. Culture grants disappear. A tax cut here, a deduction there. All backfilled in loyal districts. The blueprint ripples out. Universities leave the ministry's hands. They move to new foundations. Public money, private control. Boards filled with trusted names. Mandates with no sunset. Assets with no return ticket. Shares in oil and pharma move too. Dividends feed the trusts feed the circle. Independent oversight? It used to be in the law. Now, it's in the bylaws. Critics call it privatization of the state. Supporters call it protection from politics. Either way, the ballot stops mattering for those assets. Notice how the legal tools do heavy lifting. Emergency decrees, special economic zones, tailored tenders, court appointments. A constitution rewritten in plain daylight. Even rival oligarchs learned the lesson. Cross the line, lose the pipeline. Lose blacktop contracts. Lose media. Lose status. One day you're inside, next day your company can't win a ditch dig. That warning travels fast. It disciplines quicker than arrests. No need to jail, just starve. The union in Brussels takes note. Reports pile up. Rule of law concerns, conflicts of interest, sanctions for misuse. Funds get frozen, then unfrozen, with strings. A new integrity body appears. New anti-graft bills pass at night. Seminars are held. Websites built. The money trickles. But the system adapts. It always does. Labels change. Owners shuffle. A nephew sells to a friend who sells to a trustee. The same hands keep the same grip. If you're looking for anger in the street, you won't always find it. You'll find resignation. You'll find comfort too. For many, pensions rise a bit. Energy bills get cut for a season. Football tickets are cheap. TV channels stay cheerful. And someone finally fixed the road. And the winners? They buy yachts you'll never see. They buy papers you do. They buy time. What does it take to break that rhythm? A lost election? Not if the assets already moved. A scandal? Not if prosecutors stay quiet. An audit? Not if the numbers match the law they wrote. This is favoritism with scaffolding, cronyism with case law, not an accident, an architecture. It copies itself, county by county, agency by agency, contract by contract. You don't need to control everything. You just need to control the choke points, ports, pipelines, permissions, payments. Make them choose between principal and payroll. They'll choose payroll. Make loyalists prosperous. Make neutral players nervous. Make rivals tired. The blueprint works because it's boring, because it lives in paperwork, because it speaks procurement. And then, once built, it runs itself. Friends know when to call. Clerks know what to write. Editors know what to headline. So the question isn't who got rich. It's how the machine keeps them rich. Even when the lights turn on, even when the cameras roll, even when Europe knocks, the next move tells you everything. How they lock it in for a generation, how they make it lawsuit-proof, how they plan for a rainy day when the money slows. Because money always slows. Loans mature, funds get tied up, allies age. When that day comes, what holds loyalty? What keeps the circle tight? Watch the assets they cannot lose. Watch the laws they will not change. Watch the hands that never sign but always point. They sit behind shields you can't vote out. Foundations dressed as public interest. Boards stacked with loyalists. Billions in state assets moved out of reach. Universities, museums, farms, industry. Change a government, and those boards remain. Change a minister, and those endowments don't blink. The rules freeze the map. The map locks the money. Call it a time capsule with keys kept in friendly pockets. Critics saw what it meant. Permanent guardianship by the inner circle. No tender needed to hold a seat. No election needed to keep control. Concessions turn the calendar into cash. Motorways, airports, utilities. 35 years here, 20 years there. Rents flow like a metronome. Risk privatized when it's cheap. Profit socialized when it's safe,